Hello and welcome to all of our Gold viewers from around the world. I'm Kristen Schwartz, licensed midwife and MC here at Gold. And I'm here today with Dr. Alison Hazelbaker to talk to her about her upcoming presentation here at Gold. Welcome, Dr. Alison Hazelbaker. It's lovely to have you back here.
Thanks. Thanks for having me, especially for this particular topic, which is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. I can't wait to talk about it. Your presentation is titled Cranial Nerves, a Critical Component of the Process of Breastfeeding. And we had a sneak peek of the presentation, and you will share so much with us. I can't wait for it. But before we dive into that, would you let our viewers know what you've been up to over the past few decades that you've been working with breastfeeding diets and so much more?
Past few decades, like 4 decades, working with infant sucking. Yeah, well, the cranial nerve component is just extremely important. And I've been working with cranial nerves for 27 years now, doing craniosacral therapy and having, really great success and working through breastfeeding problems that are associated with structure function vectors. And I've spent a lot of time doing that, over 10,000 treatments with babies. Yeah. And other than that, I have my private practice. I'm also a psychologist, so I work with developmental trauma. And that really helps with some of the breastfeeding issues as well when we've got birth trauma that has occurred or trauma that's occurred in the womb during pregnancy. So that's mostly what I've been doing, as well as lots of teaching, teaching lactation consultants how to do craniosacral therapy. That's the new program that I have. And yeah, that's been fun to put that together. I've got a 6-course pathway for people to take, and it ends up with a certification as a lactation therapist. So that's been keeping me busy for the past few years.
I can imagine. That sounds absolutely fabulous. Where can any of our viewers find you if they want to take that program?
They can go to AlisonHazelbaker.com and look for the CILT, C-I-L-T program, and that's Certified Independent Lactation Therapist. You must be an IBCLC or another highly designated lactation professional to be able to even start the courses. So they can find information on that by going to that site.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure many of our viewers will be interested in that and checking it out. So yeah, your presentation, Cranial Nerves, a Critical Component of the Process in Breastfeeding, is part of our lecture pack. It's a complete package. It's titled A Whole Body Approach to the Clinical Management of Complex Breastfeeding Issues. And it is really a whole body approach, right? I mean, you are probably the best example because you are looking at the entire, function there, and also the psychology, because you're also a therapist. So I think you're the complete package, Alison. You really offer it all. So now talking about that particular topic here, cranial nerves and the critical components of the process in breastfeeding, what can our viewers look forward to learning in this presentation?
Well, this is going to be a very an overview because, of course, cranial anatomy and physiology is really quite complex. So what I've tried to do is to narrow down the most important information relative to which cranial nerve does what thing in terms of breastfeeding. So, we cover the pathways of the cranial nerves. We do a very, very brief overview of the nuclei at the brainstem level so that people can understand that it is complex. And then the 6 cranial nerves that govern suck, swallow, and breathe, we're going to go through each one of those individually and look at their pathways, talk a little bit about how a pathway can get disrupted, how nerve can be inhibited or hyperexcitable, and and then what specific structures those cranial nerves innervate in such a way to help the participant to really understand, when you see this going wrong with breastfeeding, it means that this cranial nerve is the problem.
Fantastic. That's so much great information. And I know the slides you will show us really, really good information there, where these nerves are, what they do, and to really visualize also that information. Also, you have a lot of there in there for our visual learners as well. I'm really glad to see that.
Yeah,
absolutely. Good. Fantastic. I can't wait for this presentation. It will be available in the lecture pack on April 3rd. Alison, before I let you go, any last words of wisdom here for us, for our audience from you?
Well, I think that, covering this material, first of all, it should be standard lactation education. This is not something that should be for the advanced practitioner. This is for every practitioner who's working with breastfeeding, in my view. I think it really aids the understanding of what should happen versus what isn't happening. And I think it's going to be very useful for all practitioners to get a better grip on what kinds of things will cause these problems to happen, so that we can start to change the culture around pregnancy and birth. Hopefully to get back to the way that things were back in the 1970s and 80s, when we didn't see these kinds of sucking problems. So, that's my aim. It's one thing to have to go back and correct this kind of stuff, which is very difficult and expensive. Yes. It's another thing entirely to prevent them from happening.
To prevent them from happening. I'm totally with you there, Alison, for sure. Well, thank you so very much for your time here, sitting down with me here and talking about the amazing work you're doing in your community, your lecturing, your program, and also, of course, the presentation you have with us here at GOLD. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And for our viewers, I mentioned it before, this presentation is part of the lecture pack. If you would like to find out more information on this lecture pack and, of course, on the presentation, Cranial Nerves, a critical component of the process of breastfeeding, please visit goldlactation.com and also goldlearning.com for more information. This lecture pack is an add-on package to our Lactation Online Conference of 2023. We are getting started just around the corner here. We have our keynote presentation coming up on April 3rd, which is open access. Go visit goldlactation.com. You'll find all the information there as well and how to sign up for that. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and have a lovely rest of your day wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye, everyone.